So this episode isn't really going to show you a game. What we have here is actually a prototype. I mean, it says so in the name, Shark Game Prototype, and it is a demonstration and a test of a certain mechanism. But the goal here is not really to try and show you a game. It's to show you an interesting idea of basically of game design and of interacting with an audience while developing, because the developer here makes his games on stream, and I know there's certain attempts at that at certain levels, but I think it's worth highlighting because it's a very interesting idea. It's a very interesting way to work with people who are not necessarily developers. Some of them who might actually be developers. There's a a gradient of people who will come to the stream, hopefully, and interact and provide their own unique perspective. And I guess that's really what we're going to do here today. I'm going to show the prototype game briefly, just to show you the mechanics that he's working on, and then deliver my ideas on it, and hopefully leave some thoughts that will possibly give the developer some inspiration, or maybe confirm some things he's been thinking, or maybe even counter them. So let's have a look at that. Let's jump in first of all and test the game out. Right, so if we have a glance at the how to play, let's maximize the screen. Let's check if we're still recording. Yes. You are a shark swimming circles around your prey. Left and right arrow keys change the direction you circle in. Eating other fish will make you grow bigger. Running into the walls will end your game. That seems pretty straightforward. So if we jump in, whoops, wrong button. Jump in. That is us. We are the shark swimming in slowly sort of shifting circles. And if we press the right arrow, we turn the other way. Press the left arrow, we turn the other way. And the idea is to move towards the fish by adjusting these circles. Got him on that one. Going to get him on that one. As you can see, we're growing bigger. Get in that term. I really like the way of swimming where you sort of you swim essentially. You go left and right. Why am I not getting this fish? There we go. And yeah, alright, let's crash into the wall and see what happens. It just, I even missed the wall. Right, so I mean that's the gameplay. So I mean, if all you really want to see was the gameplay, well, that's it. And I'd like to remind everyone to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more Itch.io games reviewed and seemingly other development stages talked about, things like that. And I mean, as always, leave comments. Comments are good. Comments are valuable. They train the YouTube algorithm to show you stuff that you want to see because you've been engaged with the video. It helps me because my video gets engagement. So, benefits all round. Right, so now that we are done with that particular question, let's talk about some critique, some ideas that this inspired in me. The first one is, of course, that sounds are very important. I think this, even in its current state, would be a bit more interesting if it had sort of cool underwater sounds, something mild in the background. You don't want it to be overpowering, and possibly some noises made when you eat a fish and things like that. Sounds add a level of depth to a game and talk to our brains in a very sort of fundamental way. So yeah, work on adding sounds to your game as much as possible, because it's a really not easy or cheap, but it's a really fundamental way of adding a whole new layer to things. Then, of course, it's not really relevant at this game's kind of level, but it is something that I think a lot of game developers forget about or don't apply enough attention to, and that is the lore of the game. In this case, it would be, why are we in this tank? Why are there walls that kill us? Whatever. I mean, it doesn't like I said, it doesn't really apply here because this isn't really a game with a storyline or anything into it. But when it does get to that point, it is important to remember add add fiction to before and after the game's kind of timeline, and then present that fiction to the player within the game. Don't put it in your itch.io page or anything like that. Doesn't help anyone. Put it in the game in some way that provides an intro. Wrap it into a tutorial, perhaps. I mean, that's a kind of a 2-for-1 bonus. Yeah, work on your game's lore. Think about your game's storyline, whatever it might be. Some games don't lend themselves to storylines very well because of, maybe it's a simple puzzle game with just demonstrating a puzzle mechanism. But even then, just something to draw the player, the reader in, and make them more immersed, more empathizing with the player character and with the people that you're trying to save or whatever, depending on however your game works. So yeah, and don't forget the lore. The UI here is interesting. Obviously, there's basically nothing other than the sort of the start menu. The start menu was pretty good for such a simple prototype. It contained a little bit of a tutorial, a little bit of instructions, which I thought was a really good bonus, and a start button. Obviously, there's no sounds, but it's you would want to add a button to manage sounds once you have them added into the game. So that must be part of the UI. I think an element that might be quick to add and would be quite pleasing would be counters. So count the number of fish that you eat, count how long you've been playing the round and swimming around, things like that. Add at least those. And I think the sort of the next level of that is trying to make them as non sort of numerical as possible. You don't want to just add numbers in the corner of the screen, because that's very dull. So you want to add like a portrait of your shark, and make it change as you eat the number of fish and you grow and things like that. Or at the very least, add like a wiggly line across the top of the screen and slowly fill it in with red as you eat more fish and grow bigger, as if you're sort of gaining bloodlust. So yeah, add something to the screen to show your progression, more than just your sort of shark model getting slightly bigger. Obviously, the long-term sort of thing that you want to add here is animations. You want the shark to be actually swimming, not just a static model. You want the fish to be moving around. I think maybe in the short term, a nice thing to add is a little puff of blood or some kind of reaction to the shark eating the fish. Something that just, more than the fish just disappearing. You want to add some kind of impact notification, preferably with a nice satisfying sound that gives that visceral satisfaction to the player. You want to trigger the dopamine in some way to sort of go, yes, you have achieved a certain goal. And again, I think a lot of game devs don't realize how important that right kind of feedback to trigger that right kind of minuscule burst of pleasure at achieving something within the game. And sort of the more addictive games have that kind of focused on. They really apply that particular sort of reward element. So you don't want to go as far as the addictive games, because that's now you have moral questions coming in. But you do want a little bit to make the game enjoyable, because ultimately that's the job here, is to go do this thing, get some enjoyment from it, and that's the job. Yeah, that's why you build a game. It's to give enjoyment to others, entertainment. Yeah, and I mean, along those lines, start considering where you want to take this to the next level. Are you trying to trigger a bloodlust? Are you trying to deal with the bloodlust? Maybe in terms of gameplay, the shark should speed up and become a little bit less controllable as he eats more fish, because he starts, losing what little rational thought he has and starts just going wild about biting and eating things. I don't know enough about what your sort of intentions for the game is and where it's supposed to be going. But some thoughts along those lines would be interesting. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's it. I think that's all the sort of the big things that first popped out at me. So I hope some of them have been useful and interesting and inspirational in some way. Obviously, these are just my opinions as a long-term gamer, but definitely not a game developer or game designer in any official capacity. So take them for what they're worth. But yeah, give it some thoughts. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope the video brings some people to look at your prototype and join your stream and something along those lines. And yeah, thank you for watching, and thank you to everybody else for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.